All right. Good evening, everyone. Good evening.
Good
Thank you
evening.
so much for joining us. My guest panelists are ready to rock and roll for this great conversation that's going to go on tonight. I am so excited for what's going to be shared. Please take a moment, share this out if you have not. If you can do that, we would appreciate that. I'm going to take a moment and do it myself and share this out. I'm going to ask that you would please, you never know who needs to hear it. You never know um, who is in a place where they may need some encouragement of some sort. Again, share this out, share this out. I'm going to ask if you would do that. Just going to put join us for this conversation and share, share, share. Again, you never know who's suffering in silence, who perhaps may feel as if they don't know where to go and what to do. So it is an opportunity to give information out, and the person may not even tell you that they need that. By all means, please share it out. Please share it out. Let us know if the sound and everything is okay. Coming across glitches or anything of that nature. Sure everything is good. All right, share this out, give us some thumbs up, some hearts and likes and all that good stuff. All right. So this is the Empower Me series. I typically do it once a month on the fourth Monday. Although for August through December, I'm going to have to adjust it and do it on Tuesdays, on the fourth Tuesday of the month. But particularly, pretty much has been the fourth Monday of the month, and talk about topics that are related to mental health, topics that involve women and children and young people and adolescent and married couples and, just all kinds. And today our topic is empowering minority men's mental health. And so with June being men's health month, and then July the minority mental health awareness month, I've combined the two that we're going to have both forces and talk about all of it on tonight, dealing with empowering minority men's mental health. As we know, just like physical health, we all have some degree of physical health. And likewise, with mental health, we all have some degree of mental health. And so it may vary depending on the person or the circumstance or the situation, but we all have it. And so I want people to understand that regardless of what you're experiencing, you have some degree of mental health. The hope is that you'll have coping skills and strategies and tools to be able to navigate through life when you experience traumas, when you're experiencing pain and all kinds of things like that. And so this month we're going to deal with empowering our men and looking at what are some issues and things that men are dealing with, perhaps that their loved ones don't recognize that they're dealing with, or the significant others, their children, etc., don't recognize that they're dealing with and holding on. So often we want our men to stay strong and stand strong and have all of that going on, but at the same time, they're in a place where they're trying to manage how they're feeling on the inside. And they don't always want to share that or tell people that. And so we want to be in a place where we can give strength to our brothers and strength to our men that are in our lives, whether it's your brothers, your nephews, your cousins, your whatever it might be, your uncles, etc. We want to be able to empower them and let them know, hey, you may have some things going on, but hey, there's some help. And there's nothing wrong with seeking help. There's strength in seeking help, actually, and being able to confront some issues and be able to deal with some issues. So we want to go ahead and jump right in. Please take a moment, share it out. If you have not, tag somebody if you want so desire, but please share it out, ask questions, put comments in there if something is vibing with you or whatever. Please let us know. Please let us know. It'd be greatly appreciated. So we're going to go ahead and get started. The first question going to ask them, our panelists, first of all, that they will introduce themselves, and we'll jump right here into our areas and questions. So whoever wants to go first to introduce themselves.
Are you gonna put it on me? I guess since he's the pastor, I guess I
Right.
will be obedient and submit to the pastor.
Delegation.
All right, so good evening, everyone. My name is Lauren White. I'm a licensed professional counselor here in the state of Ohio. I hope to go to Kentucky and Indiana soon, so we're gonna pray about that.
That's good.
And I love talking about this topic. As one is, absolutely necessary. I love being in spaces with Evangelist Hill where we can
Wonderful.
talk. So I'm excited to be here. I'm in private practice currently. Been doing that for about the last year and hoping to be independent soon. And want to get that doctorate. I'm trying to get Dr. Hill to get
Come
that
on.
doctorate too.
I'm trying to get it too, so we're going to press together. Amen. All right, Pastor Johnson.
All right. My name is Pastor Matt Johnson, Senior Pastor of House of Love Ministries here in South Florida. I'm also the founder of Journaling Saves Lives, which is a mental health advocacy organization. And two of the things that we do is we facilitate educational seminars just to bring awareness and proper education to the general public with regards to mental health, with the hopes of eliminating stigmas, with the hopes of more people are going to seek out treatment and help. And then we also serve as a liaison to connect individuals and families, with the peer and professional help that they need as well. And I'm excited about Journaling Saves Lives because it recently got trademarked with the United States Trademark Office. So I'm excited about that. So I'm going to hit up every country until I got a monopoly on that name.
Come on, that's right.
And one more praise report. Let this be an encouragement to somebody, because I believe in sharing testimonies real quick. I just recently got approved through Cleveland Clinic because I'm a human resources associate at Cleveland Clinic, Florida. And I recently won a grant for $100,000 to implement a mental health program at Cleveland Clinic, Florida. So pray our strength, because, I'm meeting with the higher ups now to see how we can get this up off the ground. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. These are some great men. I so appreciate them, colleagues in the gospel, as well as colleagues in the mental health arena in the area. So these are advocates, people that are committed to this area. And so we want to go ahead and jump right in. I thank them for being with me yet again for another topic. I've had them in the past, so I'm really excited about this particular topic. So this first area I want to deal with, I've asked them to, consider that oftentimes men have to be silent, and others as well when they're dealing with mental health, particularly men, though, who often feel they have to be silent. But what's really going on the inside? There's something else going on down on the inside that perhaps is not shared, perhaps is not articulated well, or whatever the case may be, for fear, for stigma, all of that. So what might be mental health issues that men, particularly minority men, might be dealing with silently? Kind of put that out on the table.
You go ahead, Elder. I'll let you tackle it first.
Let me go first. Oh man, I'm gonna switch it on him next time. No, I'm just playing. All right, so some issues that men face in terms of mental health are, one, we think about not being able to express ourselves emotionally, so lacking emotional language. So a lot of times when I deal with men, that's one of the first areas that I want to start with, is helping them to identify the feelings that they have. A lot of times, y'all still hear me? A lot of times they may not, want to open themselves up to another man because they feel that it is something that is hard for them to deal with, because men don't like to be vulnerable in front of other men. And I've literally had clients say, I don't want you as a therapist because you are a man. So I would say, so that emotional expression, that vulnerability. Also, a lot of times, and I know we'll probably talk about it later, is anger, repressed anger, and then also some other issues in terms of them not wanting to be vulnerable with their partner. There's so many different issues that impact men in terms of mental health.
So some layers to that. So you said lack emotional expression, so that awareness and identifying the emotion and what's going on, and talk about vulnerability and the anger, and then the potential of perhaps being afraid or fearful of being in a mental health relationship with another male, because they think, male's probably going to judge me. Male's probably going to point the finger or something like that. So wow, that's compounded a lot of that's going on there. Pastor Johnson, what would you add to that?
I have a few things. Number one, I would say toxic masculinity. I
Talk
define
about that.
that. I believe toxic masculinity is when the gentleman that's just everything is everything is just alpha male, like you got something to prove at church, something to
Mm,
prove at the gas station, something to prove with your family, something to prove here, something to prove there. I really believe toxic masculinity is a cover up for some type of trauma or traumatic experience that some men may have encountered throughout their developmental years in life. Because for those that I've come across, that I've known for quite some time, because I'm 38 years old myself, that had a healthy upbringing, I don't see any toxic masculinity in them. It's those that I grew up with that had some trauma or traumatic experiences, some hardships in life. They feel they have something to prove. And so that's one. The next thing I would say is what I would term over suppression. It's a term I like to use because in the Black community, we're taught as men to be tough, don't cry, don't show emotion, don't ever let anyone see your weakness, be strong at all times. And this causes the over suppression of natural emotions, emotions that arise from trauma or traumatic situations and other hardships in life. And another note I made was, and from this over suppression is a reason why some of the US prisons are filled up with men who committed various heinous and repetitive crimes, all because of misdirected anger and built up tension. They're like that soda can that you shake up and then you open the top and it explodes. And now I would say I'd be willing to bet that many imprisoned criminals, if they had access to and utilized tools and resources that could help them outlet properly and direct their anger and emotions, they wouldn't be in prison in the first place. And probably the last thing I would mention is what I would say. See, I tend to come up with my own mental mental health terminology. So this last one is what I call gender role change trauma. Gender role change trauma. And it's a term that I like to use as well because of how the roles in society have changed drastically over the last half century. Women are making more money than men. They carrying pistols. They're self-defense teachers themselves. Many are in law enforcement. They run in household themselves. And many men are dealing with emotions that are arising from not knowing the place that they occupy in society and the home. All right. And this is a major cause of domestic violence and abuse, as well as because of the words of Dr. Miles Monroe. He says, where purpose is not known, abuse is inevitable. And so those were the three things: toxic masculinity, over suppression, and gender role change trauma. Those are three concepts that I believe is really heavy in the minority men's community as it relates to mental health.
Wow. And so that's a lot to unpack here. Wow. You talk about toxicity and how the idea that, like you said, that, gotta prove yourself, gotta show that you're strong and that you're a male and you don't have any femininity whatsoever in you, those kinds of things. And so I'm sure there's that struggle there. And you say that it's perhaps a cover up for trauma. Let us pause for the cause there. How is that covering up a lot that's going on the inside? So what could be, we'll do with that here in a second. So I'll pause for the cause on that about the traumas underneath. But then the next one you said about over suppression. Oftentimes in general, because of the stigma, suppression is the number one defense mechanism that people use when it comes to mental health, because they don't know what to do. They don't know how to handle things. And so it's better to just keep all that down, suppress it, repress it, all those kinds of things. And then what happens though, the danger with that is that you explode. Like soon as that one thing, that button pushing thing, is like the volcano is erupting. So one little jolt or whatever that's been boiling underneath is going to erupt and come up. And so, wow, that's huge. That's huge. And you said it's misdirected anger. Wow. Wow. And then the last piece you said about gender role change trauma. I think about how there's this potential to demasculate men, in essence, to almost subject them to be less than who they are for various reasons, whether it's to succumb to another role or someone else's perspective about who they should be, what they should do, all those kinds of things. And so it's taking away, to some degree, some of their ability to be strong within a male perspective, not overly, not toxic in a sense, but taking away that ability to be a male. So demasculating men is another, that immediately came to my mind there. And you talk about role changes, and I know people, we might get into a fight and battle with that, with, well, I run this household, and this one will say they run this household, and I make the money and all that. I mean, there's a lot that goes on there. But I don't think we realize how sometimes that could be an attack in some ways, not always directly, but indirectly, for male's masculinity, And that's something that we really don't take, we don't talk about enough. I think we take light of it, So considering that, what are some things that are perhaps trauma underneath? When you mention about suppressing, you mentioned about, the vulnerability, the anger, misdirect anger. What are some of those traumas, though, that's filtering underneath there?
I would say in the developmental years, when the average young male is trying to find their way in life, when something happens where maybe and we can't really say manhood in adolescent years, but you get what I'm saying. When your manhood is being challenged in developmental years, or someone is making you feel weak or less than, or you have humiliating experiences during those developmental years, especially from people that are in seats of authority, parents, coaches. Like I dealt with some issues for a while, like probably up until my deep teens, maybe very early 20s, because of a coach, a humiliating experience that I had with the gym coach in elementary school, making me stand up in the middle of the class and laughing at the tennis shoes that my mother brought me, things like that. All right, because in the developmental years, young boys are trying to find a sense of identity and trying to, show they can carry chairs, that they can be tough, and they're trying to find their footing based on the societal norms that we often see. And so when you have those debilitating experiences, that can crush a person. And then now when I'm in a position, or when I'm a little smaller and the bigger guys are messing with me, mistreating me, bullying me, now when I got to 9th, 10th grade and I hit the weights, I'm 230 pounds, bench pressing 300 pounds. Now I got something to prove. And that traveled with me to my early 20s because of different situations, in my developmental years, from ages 7 through 12 or something like that, So I would say those humiliating experiences and just feeling like you're being stripped of your dignity, that's big for young men. Whether you know it or not, you do something the wrong way, you can break an 8-year-old, because sometimes it's like if you say, for instance, one of my little cousins, 8 years old, hey man, put that chair down, it's too, you can't lift that, you weak. Saying stuff like that, you don't think you're like, oh man, I just said he was weak, I was just playing, but you don't know how he's gonna carry that in life. And you got people that's 40, 50 years old still hearing when they uncle or they cousin told them, hey, you weak, you can't carry that. So now now they're trying to take on the whole world to show, guess what? I got this. But you're overcompensating for the traumatic experiences, because people may say that, well, that's not traumatic. But we can't define what's traumatic for another person, and so that's what I would say, Evangelist.
That's good. We can't define what's trauma to someone else. So we could pause right there. Because I think sometimes people will minimize and dismiss what a person is experiencing or has experienced because it's not traumatic for them, because they figure, oh, get over it. Oh, you good, kind of deal. But they're experiencing something from that for whatever reason. And so as a result, we'll minimize and then we'll attack them for why they're going through what they're going through and how they're feeling, because that experience was traumatic to them. So I think about households of individual siblings growing up in the same household, experiencing the same things, but process it differently. So as a result, one may feel one way, one may feel another way. And so then one may feel traumatized, the other may feel like it's no big deal, I got over it, pop the collar and move on, you know? So wow, huge. So stripping of the of dignity. Whew. Can we imagine the different things and words that we say to our men that really does attack perhaps their dignity? And the whole, oh, don't be weak and don't be this. Well, then it perpetuates the idea that I should never be weak.
Yeah.
That's really does. It really internalizes
Yeah.
that I should never experience weakness, because if I do, I'm going to be looked at funny. I'm going to be talked about. You talk about bullying, and then how it just kind of moves right on into that from adolescent to that adulthood. You're talking about things just kind of perpetuates in a cycle that kind of keeps going. Wow, Lauren, what would you say about this trauma? Like, what's going on underneath here?
So I literally am running a summer camp now, and we were talking about trauma today. We were talking about adverse childhood experiences, and it is something that is major, especially within our community as Black men, as Black boys, because we said empowering men's mental health, but we can't forget about the boys, can't forget about the children, because damaged boys become damaged men.
That's right.
And as we begin to talk to them today, one of the things I asked them, I went through the adverse childhood experiences, and the last question said, do you have a family member, or do you know of a family member that has went to jail? And I asked the class, there's probably about 8, 9, or 10 or so, maybe like 8, let's say. And I asked them, I said, how many of you have had a family member that went to jail? Why did the whole class raise their hand? Why did the whole class raise their hand? And the only person that hadn't experienced it in the room was one of the other instructors. So I'm like, and with ACEs, you don't have to have that high of a score for you to have trauma, a significant trauma. And some of the things that was on there, let me pull that up, because that was deep, is do you have a family member that demeans you, slaps you, beats you, bites you, right? Do you have someone that, what were some of the other ones? So I want to look at it real quick, because I want us
that'll
to
be
get
good.
this.
That's great if you can identify some of that, because I don't think people realize that what they're experiencing is creating perhaps a traumatic event, and you don't even realize it, because we're so used to certain things, we're so used to certain experiences, we're so used to life a certain way that we make assumptions that this is just what it is. But just what it is could still be trauma. Talk to me, somebody, And then we put a cultural spin on it. I'm not sure if you can. You should be able to.
Oh yeah, I can. Oh, this is beautiful. Let's see if it's gonna let me. So I want to show y'all what I see here. Let's see if I can do it this way, because this is gonna be good psychoeducation. I think the Bible says that all you're getting, get an understanding. So let's see if I can share my screen with you. I may have to screenshot it real quick in order to do so. But I'll read some of the questions as I'm doing that. It says, did a parent or other adult in the household often swear at you, insult you? Hold on, let's see here. We have a little difficulty. Let me see. There we go. All right, did they often swear at you, put you down, or humiliate you, or act in a way that made you afraid that you might be physically hurt? Now, we got that. You better not do something in my house, right? Or you're going to get, these hands. Or some parents will fight their children, right? And that should not be. That should not be. And another one says that a parent or other adult in your household often push, grab, slap, or throw something at you, or ever hit you so hard that you have marks or were injured. And ooh-wee. Sometimes we got hit with the racetrack, the extension cord, the hanger.
Don't talk too loud. Lord, help us.
Uh-oh.
But it's the truth, though. It's the truth, though. When we think about it, again, it becomes this cultural lens. It becomes this is how our culture is. But have we perpetuated something that really should just be taken out of our culture, but we've adapted to it being just who we are. And so we get used to it. That's the problem. We normalize it. We make it seem as if this is the way it should be. And anything different from that, oh, you must be spoiled. Oh, you must not understand how to live life and all those kinds of things if you didn't have someone punching you in your head.
Right.
Are we okay? Like, seriously? But my question, I'm sorry?
They call it badges of honor in the Black community.
It is badges of honor. Absolutely. We're going to talk about that when we pop our collars to say, oh, we made it through that, we survived. But I always tell people, I question your quality of mental health through the process. You know, you talk about displaced anger. What is going on that now you feel the need to lash out at people? And here's my challenge. Where do we draw the line to where it's discipline, punishment, all of those things, and then it's domestic violence? Because I'm not so sure we know. I'm not sure we know.
That's deep.
We don't.
I'm not sure we know. Because you can't tell me that where does the line switch to where now this is domestic violence, but the other is I'm going to get you under control kind of deal. You got to think about this, people.
You hear people today, though, that say, I'm here because my mother beat the hell out of me. That made me who I am.
Yep.
No, it didn't make me who I am.
Absolutely.
It broke me in life.
Absolutely.
It almost broke me. You know, it's what you do from the trauma, because hardships and trauma really doesn't make us as people.
Absolutely.
It's the principles and the lessons and whatever you learn from it. And if you make it through it, because some kids experience the same thing and their parent did that one last hit that took them out. Or that one last hit that put them in critical condition in the hospital. And then, unfortunately, you have those people, you know, for those that recovered, they come back, see, this made me, these kids is pumped. Okay, you forgot you was in ICU when you was 10, right? Because your mother beat you down, but now you saying that made you who you are? Like, nah, that's crazy.
But that's how we form that. So think about how, as a culture, we end up shaping our identity that way. You know, we end up shaping perspectives that says, this is just a rite of passage. And I give you all that question about this whole rites of passage piece, or we pass things on from generation to generations, and we pop our collars about it. We stand strong about it. We're proud of it. But it's things that have perpetuated a violent mentality that we got to be careful of. You know, we got to be careful of. So is it really a rites of passage? Or is it some generational issues and traumas that we're passing on that we don't want to deal with? Can we talk about that?
Yeah, I would say it's powerful because let me start here, because that can be taken from so many angles. One of the reasons why a lot of men in general, but especially Black men, don't know how to communicate well and explain our feelings and thoughts is because you hear in the Black household, shut up. You ain't got no opinion. Shut up. You too young. You hear that your whole life. You hear authority figures, you say anything, even if they wrong. You know, instead of apologizing, we have a hard time apologizing, because when your parents do something and they find out they wrong, they don't apologize. You know what they do? Hey, you want some ice cream? No, I want you to apologize and say you were wrong. But it's almost like you never had a chance to communicate. Hey, this is why I did that. Before you beat my head in, can I explain to you what happened? No, shut up. You just take this beating and you shut up. Stay in a child's place. And so I had an issue coming up, because when I got in front of authority figures, even in my first few jobs, it was crazy, because the traumatic experiences I had at church and stuff with like slave pharaoh-like leaders and stuff, and you know, and unfortunately, mom only did what her mother did with her, you know, and so I got in front of my managers and things, you know, I would do hypothetical situation, but just so I can demonstrate a point. I would drop an ink pen on the floor. The manager would come and say, Matt, pick that ink pen up off the floor. I'd be like, oh, I'm sorry, am I gonna get fired? Please don't fire me. Don't. Stuff like that. That's crazy, because of how I was brought up. Or if any superior, hey, Matt, can I talk to you in the office? I'm crying, nervous, sweating, because because the rites of passage was, okay, you stay in a child's place. But I nip that in the bud with me because I got a 3-month-old. And I'm working on my communication with him already, even as he gets older. No, I'm not perpetuating that was passed down from my grandmother's mother to my grandmother to my mother to me. I'm not carrying that on. That stops with me, and the whole thing of you got to beat to get your point through. You do something wrong with homework. You know that answer. It's like, no, like you don't have to hit. Me and my wife talked, she said, because that was her experience in some ways too. It's like, no, we have to break that. Those are not good rites of passages to get your point through. They got to feel some pain. No, they don't. Let them explain themselves so that they will know how to communicate when they get older.
That's the piece. So then it becomes, going back to what Elder Lauren had stated, identifying, having that emotion expression. So then there is an ability to express what you're really feeling, right? Because I wasn't able to, or whoever it could be, to say they could not express it verbally. It always probably had to be in some behavioral kind of interaction. And that communicates well too. Not always the best, but it communicates something as well. If I punch you in your head, you'll know what that means, perhaps. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it gives you understanding about how I'm really feeling on the inside, because I haven't expressed the words. So, Lauren, talk about some of that. I'll jump right in with just how much of that is this rites of passage, or are we passing some generational traumas and issues on down the line?
Well, and I do want to show the little ACEs thing real quick so that they can just have it on the screen. But I agree with you. There is things that we pass down from slavery, right?
Well.
We pass it straight down from slavery. The
We don't want
master
to talk
beat
about
you and broke you down. And man, I tell them about Willie Lynch letter, and they don't think that Willie Lynch letter is real. I don't care if it's real or not. What happened that was described in that is what is happening today.
Absolutely.
It's like all these different divides that we have with the young and the old and the light and the dark, and the emasculation of the man, and the building up of the strong Black female type, and we don't need no men. And then the men have been stripped from the households, and there's been systematic things that have been put in place so that the man can't be in there in terms of welfare programs. If you want to build a family, why not have a whole family?
Absolutely.
Woo,
people don't see that, how that perpetuates the whole not having the male in the house. I understand that it might have been used as a way to help when there wasn't a male in the house, but to continue to perpetuate the idea that if he shows up, we're going to take this from you. What if they still need that for a little bit to get them through? You know what I mean? So look at it not for indefinitely. I don't believe indefinitely that people should be on it, but I do believe that there should be a way to help people progress through it and be able to get off and be able to sustain themselves financially, independently, or whatever the case may be. And so we have to look at some of our systematic things in which we do that does attack the male. It does attack perhaps the masculinity, the ego, all of those kinds of things. And we can pull ego on one side because people may get their little issues about that. But do you want to share your screen there? Do you have it?
Yeah.
Is it coming up?
Let's see, will it? It should be right there. Do y'all see it? Should be loading up.
Up here, so hopefully people that are seeing can see it come up.
Let's see if it'll do it. Well, if not, I'll put it in the chat as well so that they can see it. So there it is.
There it is. Good.
So that way, if you want to go back to this and look at it, and I'm not telling you to take it, right? And I think you should take it with a provider, right? Absolutely. To make sure that, but if you do identify that these are some of the things that you've experienced before the age of 18, that's the key. If you experienced it before the age of 18, that's what that's talking about. But there's some people that are still experiencing these things. That don't mean they're any less significant. So Absolutely. Let me go ahead and stop sharing that.
No, if you can share back there for a second.
Share back? Okay. Yeah, let me see if I can pull it back up one more time. Give me one moment.
There's a couple questions. I just want us to even pause and think about. That even those that are listening to the feed and going to hear it, to hear
Mhm.
some of these questions and things and think about your own life.
Even
Yes, you may not have experienced trauma. You may not feel like it was trauma, but these could be adverse effects that are going on in your life that is impacting you in your adulthood. Yes, Pastor Johnson, I think you wanted to step in there with a question there. Comment.
when you talk about the rites of passages as well, let's
Mm-hmm.
take a good model home. The father is there,
Mm-hmm.
active in his child's life, spend times with his kids. I'm going to tell you something. There's some unhealthy rites of passages or generational issues that come from that as well, because those type of fathers instill in their sons still, you don't show emotion. You be strong for your mom and your sisters. You can never
Good.
break. Don't let them cry. You never cry. And so
Wow.
I've seen people develop great work ethic. They're a provider of their family and a partial leader of their family, because reason why I say partial, because no matter how good and structured your daddy was, many people's father was, I would say, a lot of them didn't have good mental and emotional healthy habits. And when they explode, they explode. And so I feel we have taken, I don't think that component has ever really existed in the father's teaching, even in a good home, a father's teaching to their son how to be mentally and emotionally stable. Only teachings I've ever heard from good homes is, this is what you do. You dress a certain way, you talk a certain way, you protect your sister, you protect your mom. I said, okay, and you pray and go to church. So where are the mental and emotional healthy habits? Because the same ones that do that, it's the same ones when they do blow up, that mild mannered personality explode, or some people, you catch them on the bad day, or some people are just a walking time bomb. So I say all that to say, even in those good homes, we have to make sure we're teaching good mental and emotional healthy habits, because that is absent even from a lot of quote unquote model homes where the father and mother is there and active in a kid's life.
Wow, that's huge. You have just rocked some folks' world just right about now with that, because if that's not the truth, because the perspective sometimes is, oh, I don't put hands on my child, or I don't blah, blah, blah my child, or I don't, or we don't in the home, but there are some things that are still being perpetuated that perhaps is control, perhaps is minimizing emotion, minimizing, like you said, good emotional and mental stability. Wow. Pause for the cause. Wow. Lauren, I want you to just pinpoint some of these things out here and just kind of speak the questions out loud so you have them out in the atmosphere there.
All right. So while you're growing up during the first 18 years of life, did a parent or other adult in the household often swear at you, insult you, or put you down, or humiliate you, or act in a way that made you feel or made you afraid that you might be physically hurt? That's number one. Number two, did a parent or other adult in the household often push, grab, slap, or throw something at you, or ever hit you so hard that you had marks or were injured? Did an adult or person at least 5 years older than you ever, now this one's a trigger alert, touch or fondle you, or have you touch their body part in a sexual way, or try to, or actually have oral, anal, or vaginal sex with you? Oh my God. Did you often feel that no one in your family loved you or thought you were important or special, the black sheep? Your family didn't look out for each other, feel close to each other, or support each other. We don't think about that as trauma a lot of times. Did you often feel that you didn't have enough to eat, had to wear dirty clothes, or had no one to protect you? Or your parents were too drunk or high to take care of you or take you to the doctor if you needed it? I know some people, they experienced that. Were your parents ever separated or divorced? Some of our parents didn't ever get together or get married. Number seven, was your mother or stepmother often, this is domestic violence, often pushed, grabbed, slapped, or had something thrown at her, sometimes or often kicked, bitten, hit with a fist, or hit with something hard? This is when you see, you witness the trauma. Or ever repeatedly hit over at least a few minutes or threatened with a gun or a knife? Number eight, did you live with anyone who was a problem drinker or alcoholic or used street drugs? And then number nine, was a household member depressed or mentally ill, or did a household member attempt suicide? We got so much mental health is not even diagnosed. And then number 10 is, did a household member go to jail? And especially in lower income communities, that is a reality. A lot of these are realities of low income communities. Now, I'm not going to say that it's not, it's not something that we don't experience in other socioeconomic statuses, but I know I come from the hood and I know that this is the reality of so many children, that they experience these things sometimes on a daily basis, not as a one-time thing, it's a repeated habitual thing. So,
and it becomes again normalized and perceived to be, this is how life is. So we get used to it, we just succumb to it, so we don't challenge it. We don't look at it as problematic. We don't look at it as an issue. We don't look at it as there's something that needs to be changed here. We look at it as status quo. I see it sun up, sundown, day in, day out. So then there isn't this adjustment that, let me get out of this cycle, because the cycle is life, So I think about how these things, how there could be a gender kind of issue difference as well, because men might experience some of those things and never really identify it. Because sometimes women may get away and not really get hit, punched, et cetera, although women do get abused that way. But in other ways, women are getting abused and females getting abused as they are younger. But I think about how, in order to toughen up a boy, in order to toughen up a young adolescent male, is that put your hands on them and show them who's in control. And then it shows them that, oh, this is how you get people in control. This is how you get people to do what you want them to do, But it becomes an erroneous way of doing it, because it leads them down a path of jail because of domestic violence. They are cracking down on domestic violence, people, I'm telling you, women alike. So it used to be a lot with men, but women are getting you too. Don't put your hand on the male, really, because you're going to find yourself with a domestic violence case, just like a male would. So we have to be careful. So, wow, this is a lot going on. Traumas underneath, being passed on as these quote unquote rites of passages, or really there's some generational kind of things going on. Let's talk about the impact. Yep.
It's saying that people that's texting me saying they can't comment. So I'm not sure what's going on. They're trying to
on the Facebook feed.
So I can share some of them if you want.
Yes, because I don't know why. They can't comment on the Facebook feed. Maybe if they would do a refresh. I had to do that a couple times and go out and come back in. If you refresh, for those that maybe are on the comment, and refresh, because now I was able to get your comments that you put about the ACEs. So if you are having trouble commenting, please go out of the feed and come back into it and help it to refresh itself, and maybe you can comment then. So I certainly want to get the comments. If you want to share and speak out loud about the comments that are being made, I appreciate.
Okay, so I have one comment from Marcel, and he said, I'm listening to the conversation that you all are having, and it's very important conversation. I think that's needed among us as the people of God, as ministers, as churches, as saints. This is a very important conversation that needs to be had, because we can save so many of our sons, our daughters, our nieces, nephews, cousins, if we really take the time to really listen and understand what their struggle is and where they are coming from, then try to help guide them and lead them and show them something better. So I'm really enjoying the conversation that you guys are having.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. Thank you for that comment. Appreciate that it's impacting and helping. Absolutely. Pastor Johnson, I believe you had.
I was gonna say another thing. When it comes to relational issues, the reason why a lot of men in general, since our topic is minority men, so you're a little boy, you fall off the bike. Your mother says, get up and shut up. Because whether you know it or not, that's common. People think that, oh, come on, talk to mama, come on, mama's baby. No, that's not very common. It's you taught, hey, get up, boys don't cry. I'm trying to teach you how to be a young man. And so these same women, when these men get older, they want these men to automatically just kind of morph into this communicating machine that knows how to explain. But you told me to shut up. You wouldn't let me tell you why I cried. I fell into the bushes and it's a thorn in my back. Can I tell you? You're telling me to shut up and wipe myself off. My back is bleeding. Why don't you turn me around and look? I'm just saying that humorously to demonstrate a point. So if we start changing how we're rearing them from a young, rearing our young boys, even from 2 and 3 on up, because it counts in those years too, then we'll have better communicators overall, I feel, once we hit adulthood. But if that's what you're hearing throughout your toddler years, your adolescent years, throughout all of your developmental years, then you go into your teen, your young adult years, and that's all hey, shut up, man. That's what's playing in your head. And now you get in a relationship, you don't know how to communicate, but not to realize it, because I've been in relationships with women like that. And then I see how they treat their son. I said, now you expected me to communicate. Look, I was once him. I was once 3 years old and you telling him to shut up. And I'm the one saying, hey man, come tell me what's going on. You okay? What's bothering you? And I'm not saying a mother and father should be doing that, because in some cases we say, oh no, the nurturing is that's a whole nother trauma thing. Traumatic experience.
It is a whole nother, oh my.
Shielding off the nourishment to the mamas like the daddies don't, because I've seen one time, and I'll let you go, Evangelist, to go to your next point, but I've seen one gentleman in particular, his son jumped up in his lap and, gave him a kiss right on his mouth. And he, sit down, you don't kiss your daddy in it, sit down, boy. And we're looking like, dude, this is a baby. Are you crazy? Like, are you really crazy? Like that type of stuff. And I know I made a couple of different points, but I invoked the first point on purpose. We need to make sure we're watching how we're doing our young men if we want better communicators in relationships when we get older. And fathers, you are nourishers too. Because if our father nourishes us, what makes us any different?
But that speaks to the presence that's needed from our men in the home, because there has to be a balance and an understanding of how to communicate from a male perspective, how to communicate from a female perspective. And I'm not always convinced that one or the other can show, and I get it because I know people argue with me. I'll probably get comments in my messenger box, and that's good, because I can stand on everything I say. Okay, so I don't have a problem. We can rebuttal back, not a problem. You come at me anytime. But the point is this: it was meant for us to be raised by two parents. I know people gonna argue with me. I get it, because I understand single parenthood. I understand, whether the father is raising the children, whatever, or the mom is having to raise the children. But that wasn't the intended purpose, people. So let's deal with what the intended purpose was, in order that there can be a perspective that's holistic. And so when there's not, there is potential for, in my opinion, a downfall, potentially. Because then you have these mommy issues, you have these daddy issues, you have these things that are perpetuated because there is a lack and a longing for something that they don't even have a clue they're longing for. If they never saw the male in the home, in their mind, you think, well, I don't need him. But really throughout life, you do. If you never saw your mom in your family, you thought, oh, no big deal. I never had her. My father raised me. But you do. You do. So please be mindful of how all of this together works to make a person develop holistically along life, if you will. So the impact of having fathers in the home and not in the home. Let's hit that a little bit harder. The impact of present and then the downfall. We already know the absent. But what's the benefit of having male present in the home?
Ooh, I kind of want to get my I got my mentee in here with me. He's playing this game. And he's a young man. I told him I'll probably try to ask him to speak at some point. Okay. But oh my gosh, the impact of having a present male in the home. You know what he told me earlier? I ain't trying to cry. No, I'm just playing. He said that I was a black man that did not drop the ball. Wow.
Now that's huge from his mentee.
And I've only known him for about a week. He's 15. And he said his mother trusts me because I'm a black man that did not drop the ball. And that is a shame that it seems that it's a rarity. Now, I don't think it's a rarity. I think there's a lot of black men that ain't dropping the ball, but they're not seen. And they do a lot of work behind the scenes. And so many times we praise the negative, that what the black man ain't doing. But there's a lot of black men within the church. There's a lot of black men within the community that are doing amazing work. And sometimes they will father children that are not their own. Come on, Pastor. There's a lot of men that will father children that are not their own. I told him, I said, I was joking around earlier. I said, I don't do women with children. But what I mean by that,
Yeah,
don't get
qualify,
me beat up. Don't let me get beat up.
they coming after you, sir. I'm telling you, we gonna get in our inboxes. I'm just saying.
And it's not necessarily saying that, because I will be a mentor to a child, right? I'll be a mentor to a child, but there's so many men. I just find I have a difficulty raising another man's child. I told him that before. It just don't not sit well with me, because then I'm gonna have to deal with the daddy. And you can't get mad at me when I'm in your child's life and you not. You can't be fighting the stepdad. Watch your mouth, White. You can't
That's a
fight
whole
that
blended
stepdad
family. That's a whole other issue. Blended, but think about it, how that compounds and creates complexity in a child's life. Think about that. When they're wanting to love their natural father, okay, or natural mother, when we're talking about men, okay, so with the natural father, but still perhaps have a stepfather in their life. And you can't fault the mom for being and say she can't be with another person because the father don't want to be, or whatever the case may be. That's not, up to her. But we have to look at all of that and how this compounds things in a child's life. So now they're torn between, do I share my affection? Am I able to share my affection? If I do, what is my mother going to say? What is my father going to say? We got a lot. And we just think, oh, get over it. Oh, man.
Well, I would say one of the benefits, so we have to be sure that we're putting parameters about the whole concept of fathers in the home, because there are some fathers that provided, their kids never went without, always had everything they need. They protected their children physically, but left their kids exposed spiritually because they was out of place spiritually. And then also the other thing, maybe not as affectionate, because you can create monsters having a structured, disciplined daddy that don't know how to show affection, because it perpetuates other men that's going to become fathers one day that are not going to show affection to their children. We have stapled in the Black community, a good father is one that keeps a roof over your head, and keeps you in line and protects you, make sure nothing happens to the kids and the mama. No, it's much more to that than the eye can see. And so these are these hidden elements like affection, because you'll be surprised some of the young men that confide in me, in general, some of my male friends in the Christian world, those that are out in the world, they're like, man, I had a daddy. I never knew what it was like to be hungry, because I had food all the time. I had clothes, but he never kissed me. He never hugged me. He never told me he loved me. None of that. I challenged a young man from my church. I told him, he said his daddy never said he loved him, and he never said he loved you to his daddy. I said, but you're the believer. I said, so I'm going to challenge you on something. I said, once you break this mold, you're 23. I said, I want you to go home. I said, you have 3 days. I'm not even going to make you do it tonight. You got 3 days by Saturday. It was on a Wednesday. I said, to tell your daddy that you love him. And he said he did. He said it changed some things in the atmosphere. So the dad saw, out of 23 years, just that the son taking that leaps and bounds. And so having a daddy in the home that's affectionate is important, because that super protector and provider is not the cure all and be all, or even the one that make you stay in church all the time, that comes home and still thumping you in your head and smacking you in your head. But he's teaching you the fear of the Lord, and he's teaching you to fear him too. So we got to be careful in the parameters that we put around good father. So if you don't get nothing else from me, you all who watching, a good father is more than a provider and a protector.
Wow.
Can I touch
that's
something?
Good. Please, Elder Lauren. Wow, that's good.
Something that's been in my spirit, and I don't know if this is from the book of Lauren, if it's from the Holy Ghost, and we're gonna figure it out in just a minute. But child support. Oh, I said he almost spit his drink out. Whoa, child support.
Okay, talk about it. Oh boy,
it's not that much support, and you gotta let me speak on this, because there's so many men say, I pay my child support. Your little 150, your little 75. They ain't gonna bite me back. That is not support for a child. And I literally had my own father pull out his pockets to me and say, I paid my child support and he didn't want to give me nothing else, right? And that hurt me as a man. That hurt me. And I said, I don't want your money. I want, like he said, I want your love. I want your attention. I want your time. I want to know who I am as a person, because part of me is wrapped up in you. 23 of my chromosome came from you. And so that's some things I need to know about myself that you got the key to answer. That might be the Holy Ghost right there.
That
The Bible
was powerful. My God.
The
Oh,
Bible
Lord.
says that a man that don't take care of his children is worse than an infidel. That means you worse than an unbeliever. How are you going to sit here and say that you believe God and you don't take care of your family? One of the qualifications of a bishop is that he must rule his house well. You can't have your whole house jacked up, man of God. Oh, let me stop. You can't have your whole house jacked up and think that God is pleased with you.
And so
So
that's another point behind there too. And I'm gonna tell you, Evangelist, there's some. So we have to. The reason why I say the parameters, that's powerful. What Elder White said. I'm telling you, it's men in church, including some great men of God, they have underestimated, because of things that have been passed down through generations, how important affection is from a father. Somewhere along the line, if Jesus is the one that comforts us in our times of weariness and weakness, where do we get off with this teaching that nurturing and nourishment and comforting is just for the mama and the daddy is there to just discipline? No, I've never subscribed to that. And I think that's so damaging. You'd be surprised, some of the men that I've come across who said that are masculine men, but they got balance because they said, no, man, my daddy, he would box with me, but he'll kiss me on my jaw, hug me, kiss me on my forehead, let me lay in his arms when I was 13 years old, stuff like that. They said, you'd be surprised the wonders that do, but that looks weird to somebody that hasn't experienced that. They'll say, no, that's gay. That father doing something with their son. Should no son be laying in their father's chest when they 13? That's crazy to me. We have to change that in the Black community. Affection, men, whoever men that are watching, women that are watching, pass this on. Affection is for men. Nurturing and nourishment is for a man to do as well, in addition to a mother. Just like discipline, and guess what? A mother is there to provide and protect too. So it's just balance. That's what I had, Evangelist.
That's good. That's
great
good.
comment, Elder White, too.
I'm sorry.
I told Elder White, great comment, by the way.
Yes, absolutely. But it's providing the parameters, like you said. It may not be necessarily directly in the household, but are you providing that to your child? Like you said, along with you. I'm not looking for your money, sir. I'm looking for you. I'm wanting you. I'm wanting your heart. I'm wanting your desire. And that's powerful. You said, part of me is from you anyway. It's the truth. You know what I mean? It's the truth. And so to learn you, you need to know your father. Ooh, talk about that. To know you is to learn your father, or even a mother, but we're talking about men again. Wow, huge. Other comments. We want to wrap up here with our awareness piece and coping, but any blaring comments we want to make in regards to this trauma, this generational things that are being passed on, rites of passage. We talked about anger, misdirected anger, lack of emotion and being able to identify emotion. We talked about how, that stripping of dignity and bullying and how that impacts an adolescent, but moves on into their adulthood, and that perpetuates in a relationship and having connections or lack thereof. Let's just say it that way, a lack thereof of connections and things. Any other comments related to those areas that you all want to make before we shift into leaving people with some coping skills and strategies? Any final comments there?
But before we shift there, can I just mention this for the Christian family? Slapping holy oil and praying ain't gonna solve everything.
Ooh.
I'm gonna tell you something.
I'm done.
People forget fasting and prayer is the place that God reveals. Just because you fast and pray, God ain't about to come down and say, poof, your bipolarism is gone. Poof, your trauma is gone. No, he's equipped people with knowledge and understanding to help you walk. So in the place of prayer and fasting, he may reveal, hey, Tyrone, you need to go to therapy. And in fact, go see Elder White, go see Evangelist Hill. But we think when we fast and pray, it's just for God to just come down and poof. Just like he may say, hey, I can divinely hear you, but I've equipped that heart surgeon with what you need. So you may have to go that route. And so I say that to say, let's bridge the gap between mental health and the church. You can have Jesus and a therapist. You can trust in Jesus and go to counseling and all of that type of stuff. And so this is why churches are leaving themselves at a loss, because folks I've seen people have meltdowns in ministries and churches not know if they know what to do. You can pray and do all that speaking in tongues and laying hands if you want, but somebody need to have some knowledge, just like when folks drop down that had a heart attack. Thank God there have been people with medical knowledge that knew, instead of fanning folks, they get out, bask in his presence. No, this person is having a heart attack. And so like the same thing with mental health, you have to know, stop saying everything is a demon, you all. Christians, everything is not a demon. Certain things are just assigned to our fallen nature. And the book of James tells us faith without works is dead. And so I got faith in God that he can do all things, but I understand there is a part that I have to play in this as well. And so one of my assignments, Pastor Johnson and Journaling Saves Lives, is to bridge the gap between mental health and the church. So you know what I do? We slap oil and pray with folks, and we pay for folks to go to counseling and therapy.
That's good. Like you said, you could have Jesus and the therapist. We got Jesus in financial assistance. We have Jesus in whatever else, a realtor, and we have our financial specialist and expert, and we have, our trainers, people go to the gym. We have all of that. But we seem to just put mental health on the side somewhere. Barely have a doctor, you know what I mean? But we can have those things. So I love that bridge the gap between church and mental health. Absolutely, you can have Jesus and a therapist. We know he's a great counselor. We understand it. He's a great physician. We understand it. But he called for Luke the physician for a reason. He called for the tax collector for a reason. He called for the fisherman for a reason. Oh, the Lord, did you want to add a couple comments there before we shift into what tools we want to leave with individuals to help them
Even
along
Jesus
this journey?
needed his father.
Ooh, even Jesus needed his father. You done messed us up here. Elder, I'm done. I'm throwing in the towel here. I'll throw it in. Jesus
When he
even
was on
needed
the
his
cross,
father. Did he
when he was
not?
on the
What did he
cross, he
say?
said, hold on. Even what did he say on the cross? He said, behold my mother, because he wanted somebody to take care of this mother,
Yes.
but he said, Father.
Father.
Come on now, you ain't gonna talk to me.
Cried
Because
out to
sometimes you
him.
need your daddy.
Cried out to him.
And watch this, Joseph was dead by that time, I believe. All right, don't make me,
Right. I have to
believe
think.
Joseph wasn't around. I don't think
he
Joseph
was, because I think it was
he was an
his
older
brothers.
man. So I believe Joseph was dead by that time. And sometimes with some of these issues, can I say this? Even when your daddy ain't there, you got a father. Oh,
you got a father.
Woo!
You got a father. It's
You
the
have
truth,
a father
though.
that you can call on, and he will send you support. He will send you help.
Wow,
and I would say to the men in the church, we see all of this need. And watch this, there ain't that many men in the church now. We have to get back to our place in God. We have to stand up in terms of mental health, spirituality, in terms of other things. And no, it's not to demean the woman, but you got to have a man. A man is needed to raise a man. I don't care what women may say, and that's not necessarily knock on a single mother. My mother was a single mother for a lot of my time, but I had some strong men that helped, that stood in the gap and helped me to become the man that I am today. And I do give my mother credit. If she were to watch this, I give her credit for what she did. I give my great aunt a lot of credit for what she did. But in order for me to learn certain things, I didn't know how to shave. Right? I didn't know certain things to do because I did not have a man. I had to learn how to tie my own tie. Sometimes I have to watch YouTube to tie the bow tie, right? But we got skills that we can teach these young men that are coming up after us, and we have to do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's excellent. Excellent. So that just leads right into our tips and strategies, interventions, anything that we can leave with the men and those who may, have the men in their lives and they want to be able to embrace and support them and things like that. How do we help? Give some tools, some strategies, some first step things that they could do.
Get knowledgeable about mental health and mental illness matters. There's a lot of correspondence out there that is good correspondence from organizations like NAMI, National Alliance on Mental Illness, Psychology Today. Just get educated. What is depression? What are the various types of anxiety? What is bipolar disorder? What is schizophrenia? What is seasonal affective disorder? What is this? What is that? So number one, get knowledgeable. That's the first step in what a person or individual or families can take to be supportive of others that may be in their environments that's dealing with mental and emotional ailments, being knowledgeable. And then the next step, you can take it a step further. They offer mental health first aid training or psychological safety training, things that can equip the average citizen who is a non-mental health professional with the tools they need to kind of recognize when something is wrong and to step in with basic techniques to assist the stressed individual. So just being knowledgeable and taking that step. We look up everything else, but we won't venture to look up resources and things that can help people. Listen, man, this is not good. I tell people, like, just like somebody came to me, and I hold people accountable who's dealing with mental illness matters of various levels themselves that have come across my path. I said, you knew to look up them new Jordans that was coming out, but you didn't know you wouldn't look up to go see that therapist on Psychology Today, though, right? You had enough sense in the midst of your depression to look up which Jordan's coming out next week. So I hold them accountable too, but just being knowledgeable in like I said, there's so much content. So just feed yourself. Just like we feed ourselves with the word of God, we need to feed ourselves with content about mental illness, mental health, the whole variety. And the other thing I would mention is this too. People, let me give you this. A lot of people have insurance and don't realize they have what's called the Insurance Parity Act, which every insurance is required to provide some type of mental health coverage and benefit. But a lot of people wouldn't know that. I can't afford no therapist. Do you know that if you call your insurance, it may just be a $35 copay, and for some people's insurance, it may be free? I've told so many people that through these type of platforms like Evangelist Hill is offering us and at churches and things. Check your insurance. You've been talking about the last 10 years, and then they finally call their insurance. Oh yeah, you've been had such and such benefit. So I could have been seeing a therapist for 10 years. Yeah, but you didn't want. So now check your insurance. And then the other thing is to your rec centers, local rec centers. You can go there and get information about mental health. Let's see. I feel every church needs, if there's anybody that's on here that's in church, make sure your pastors and your leaders, make sure that church got some type of mental health list. If anybody come to House of Love, hey, I need some resources. We got you in 5 minutes. I need some potential therapists or a listing of things. We got you in 5 minutes. We got all of these things in place because we never know when we'll need them. And then we also utilize our funds in such a way where we can help. So then people may say, well, I don't have the money to go even with my insurance. We got you. So will you go? And then the other thing, let me just leave this tip, journaling. That's my organization. Journaling saves lives. It is a therapist and counselor recommended tool that I feel the reason why people struggle with journaling so much is because we don't know how to sit down and unplug from stuff. And so if we learn to just sit down and unplug, take 15 to 30 minutes a day just to jot down your feelings and emotions. Listen, y'all, your feelings, your emotions, your thoughts need somewhere to live outside of you. You need to give them a place to live, and inside of you is not a good place for them. And so that's what journaling does. All right. Make sure if you got a hectic household, a lot of kids and folks just loud, listen, you may have to just detour from work and go to a park and sit in your car for 30 minutes and journal your thoughts out before you go back into that chaos. So those are just some of the things that I have.
Awesome. Elder Lauren, go ahead there. Awesome. Thank you.
I want to know, can we get the offering plate for the pastor? That's what I want to know. Can we get the like,
Right.
I'm just
You.
he was preaching up in here in terms of what he was saying. And what I would say is you need to, one, be okay with being vulnerable. I posted on my page the other day. Be okay with being vulnerable. Even a strong person can have a weak moment. And what I would say to you is a lot of times when people come into therapy, they are afraid because it is going to get deep and it's going to get heavy sometimes and it's going to hurt sometimes. But sometimes you're going to feel worse before you feel better. But that's all right because you have to get down and you got to dig deep sometimes. If you want a wound to heal, sometimes it's going to be painful. Sometimes you got to go to surgery before you can heal. And sometimes people, they don't want to deal with the issue. We were talking earlier about PTSD. Sometimes there's avoidance. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to do nothing about it. But you not talking about it. You're not doing nothing about it. You're not thinking about it. Yeah, you thinking about it. You can't sleep at night, right? So you got to be open and vulnerable to share some of these things. And a lot of times what we'll do if you got an EMDR therapist, right, they're going to help you get coping skills. Most therapists are going to help you get coping skills before they dive real deep into the trauma, right? They're going to help you have ways that you can cope. So I would say, don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Talk about that thing, talk about the nightmares. Talk about how that person did what they did to you. Because the only way that you don't get through some of this is to address it. You can hide it under a mat, under a rug. You can try to throw the skeletons in the closet, but trust and believe they're going to get up at night and they're going to come out. So what I would say to you is, go seek help. And what I even tell people to do is, if you don't feel comfortable with a therapist, I want you to go to therapy. Can I say that? I want you to go to therapy, but start with somebody that you trust, right? Because at the end of the day, the therapist is only going to be there to talk to you for 1 hour. Now, some of these other therapists, they might talk to you a little bit more than that. You can get an IOP program where you have multiple hours that you can do it, right? You can get partial hospitalization. But at the end of the day, you got to have support outside of your therapist. The therapist is only one part of the solution. You got to go to your church. You got to go to your support system as well. And you got to build that up. A lot of time people, we look at risk factors. They don't have a good support system. They by themselves. They won't say nothing. And they just hurting. They in pain. So what I would say is speak up because you need help. And if you don't got the courage to speak up, then talk to somebody that can speak up for you and that can speak up with you. Tell your mama, take me to the doctor. Some of my clients, I've had a mother call me today. Ask your mama to help you to go. Ask whoever you trust. And you, the person that they trust, you stop letting them just go through that by themselves. You tell them, go to the doctor, go to the therapist. No, they don't need to just keep coming to you because you're not trained. All right, I'm done.
Oh, that's good. That's good. But you know what? That helps, I think, maybe lessen the burden that I believe caregivers, one, but all those that are perhaps supportive in different ways to individuals that are dealing with mental health, particularly men, et cetera. You see them going through, you see them, the cycles and all those kinds of things, and they don't know what to do. They don't know how to help. In their mind, I'm here to listen. But beyond listening, how do you help them be accountable? Going back to what Pastor Johnson stated about being accountable and responsible. Look up this, look up that. Like you said, we can run on a list of Jordans, when they come out, the day they come out, which store they're at, how much it's going to cost with the tax and all of that. But yet and still won't find out the ins and outs with various things that we really might need for our health's sake. So that is a challenge there. But I appreciate you saying with those that are supportive, hey, challenge them. To go seek help, go find help, etc. I can go with you, things like that. So that's good strategies. I try to put some of those in the comments there. If there are comments, if there are questions that people have as we wrap up here this last minute, you can put those. I believe Ella Lauren was looking at some of the comments there. I don't know if Pastor Johnson, you see any on your end. But the feed, I don't know. It's kind of weird with the Zoom and
somebody mentioned that churches do, and we got to keep harping on that because I'd be willing to bet 95% of churches don't have anything mental health in place for their parishioners and wouldn't know where to direct them, don't have connections. And you'd be thinking of all the people church folks know, like nobody know that many therapists and counselors. social workers, anybody in the mental health field. It's like I pride myself on having those resources. And it didn't come through osmosis, you all. I was intentional about developing this because
Absolutely.
I wanted to be that holistic pastor, because I'm not that pastor from back in the day that thought they were the end all be all to everybody. No, I know where my limitations are, and I know where my skill set ends before I have to go ahead and say, hey, we're just gonna pay this green paper and send you to somebody that can walk you through the next step. So churches, I charge everybody today, encourage your pastor. Those that may be leaders that may be watching this or come back to watch this, you need to get some type of listing of resources in your community, resources that are available nationwide. You need to get some type of listing of local therapists and counselors. And you can even go outside of your region, because some people are doing virtual. You need to have something to offer people when somebody say, I need to talk to somebody. Okay, you can give them some spiritual counseling, but their issue may not be a spiritual thing in their relationship with God. And so that's what I will leave the charge at. It's so important, you all, because if I hear another person say, if your arm break, you're going to the hospital. If something going on with your kidneys, you're going to pray, but you're going to make your way to a urologist or a nephrologist. But when it comes to the mental status, the mind and the emotions, we say, just take it to the Lord in prayer. We got to stop that. So that's
absolutely. And it's so important. And I do recognize whoever had made that comment that there are churches. We're not saying that not, all of them. But what we're saying is that there needs to be this resource available with churches, because if we're going to be holistic, if we're going to be whole, if we're going to look at ourselves from a total perspective of, mind, body, and spirit, and all of those things, and God wants us to love him with all that part of us. But if that part of us is sick, if that part of us needs, help and that kind of thing, we need to be able to reach out and say, God, help me with this. So when you go down in prayer, not a problem, go down in prayer, but listen to what he tells you as instruction. So when he says go dip 7 times, don't try to figure it out, go do it. When he tells you to go talk to so-and-so, when he tells you to go reach out or whatever the case may be, or adhere to whatever someone is saying, do that. Pay attention to what he's saying, because God will give you instruction. The thing is, are we listening? He will give instruction. Are we listening? So ultimately, we hope you got some tools and strategies, be able to talk about some of these things and really have a conversation about where are we? Where are we mentally? And we're talking about men in particular for this session. Where are we as men mentally? Where are the men mentally? Physically, you may be here present, but mentally, what's going on? Emotionally, what's going on?
Can I mention
and how do we support?
Evangelist?
Absolutely.
Just if I go to another men's conference and there is no therapy, no mental health, no counseling, nobody I'm gonna scream. I'm tired of going to men's conferences where all they teaching is professional skills and how to be the head of your household, how to be a godly husband. Well, you're not going to be a very godly husband without a stable mind and stable emotions. And so I feel, and I've been privy to be able to suggest, and certain preachers and different people, even from the community, have started to institute some, but widespread is just totally absent. And I said, how can we continue having this when this is such an issue? Your issue, a lot of men's issue is not finding a job. And those that can't find a job is because, hey, maybe something is going on up here. Maybe something is going on in their emotions. So let's start hitting that angle. And I'm done. Thank you, Evangelist.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, this is really good. Excellent. But you know what? That speaks to some of the things where mental and emotional well-being is so helpful. Because what people don't realize, the cycles of the job loss and repeated jobs and can't deal with authority and things like that is because something else is going on the inside. Everybody is not wrong. Everybody is not trying to attack you. Everyone is not out to get you or, suppress you or keep you down. There are perhaps some issues where maybe the last 5 jobs you've had in the last 7 years, there is a problem. That is not every job. Every job is not out to get an individual. Not every job is out to keep whomever down. And so we have to look at those things of where there are constant struggles, and that could be a red flag that something's going on. When there's a repeated cycle of something, in and out of relationships repeatedly, there is something going on. Because there is an inconsistency, There's a lack of consistency. There's a lack of stability. So we have to look at all of that. And sometimes we don't want to look at that. It's easy to point the finger. It's easy to put the blame. But let's look at what's going on that I'm dealing with, whatever I'm dealing with, you know? So I hope at the end of the day, people are realizing, recognizing, becoming more aware. That is the purpose of this broadcast that I do monthly, is to raise awareness and be able to give some tools and strategies along the way. From church, in the church, out of the church, not just church, the whole gamut there, the whole gamut. So thank you. I thank all of you for joining in with us, sticking in there with us in our time here. So share it out if you have not. Tag someone that can come back to see the replay and the broadcast. So we so appreciate you. We'll keep up and let you know about the revised date for our August through December, because I'll be teaching a class on Monday, so I won't be able to do it on Mondays through December, August through December. So I'll give you that revised date. It'll be on a Tuesday, the fourth Tuesday of the month, August through December. So I'll get that information out. We're going to look at some great things come this fall, looking at, stress and grief and loss and things like that, because we really want to hit some other areas as we come out of, and I speak it as we come out of this pandemic. I know we're still in it, but we're going to come out of this, and I want us to be better for having gone through it, and that if it ever was to come back, how do we prepare ourselves for something else to happen? Just think about it. Do we have the tools that if it ever was to come back around, will we still be in that shock mode? Not after going through a year and a half now. We should have some tools and strategies of, if it happens again, here's our game plan. Here's our coping strategy. So with that being said, thank you all so much. Have a great evening, or whenever you're seeing this. There is help, there is hope, there is healing. Take care, everyone.